So a court just said that President Trump does not have the unilateral authority to move forward with his tariffs. However, they didn't say that the tariffs were wrong. They simply said the onus is on Congress. Well, let's talk about it. Hey guys, welcome to the Shermichael Singleton Show. I'm your host, Shermichael Singleton. And as I was just stating at the top of the show, this week, the U.S. Court of International Trade handed down a ruling that, look, it didn't surprise me. And even when President Trump was moving forward with tariffs, I was wondering when a court at some point was going to step in. And it should send shockwaves through Capitol Hill. Now, the court issued a permanent injunction against President Trump's tariffs. And some of those tariffs that bypassed Congress really threw a grenade into the gears of global trade. But here's the kicker. The court didn't necessarily just strike down the tariffs. It essentially turned to Congress and said, hey, this is your damn job. Do it. So the court didn't say whether or not what President Trump is attempting to do in terms of wanting reciprocal trade with our reciprocal tariffs with our allies and even with our adversaries like China. The court didn't get into that. The court simply adjudicated this based on one simple question, one simple premise, I should add. The authority as it pertains to unilateral broad tariffs based on what the president was attempting to do does not rest with the executive branch, but with Congress. And well, hell, Congress, whether it's Mike Johnson in the House, who I respect, or John Thune on the Senate side, who I don't know, but the Congress isn't doing anything. I mean, seriously, what in the hell have Republicans in Congress done in response? Think about it. Crickets, nothing, absolutely nothing. And look, let me make this clear. This ruling is not just a technical matter about trade. It's about a rebuke. It's a flashing Neo sign pointing to Congress that says, get the hell off the sidelines and govern. Do the job that the American people elected you to do. The American people gave Republicans in Congress a majority in the Senate and a majority in the House, albeit a small one in the House, to do something because they believe that giving Republicans a supermajority, by that I mean controlling both branches in Congress, both houses in Congress, the House, Senate, but also the executive. We have a conservative majority on the court. The American people are saying, look, there are some things that we think conservatives just are better at, particularly issues of immigration, the economy, infrastructure. And Republicans aren't doing anything. They're not governing because tariffs, the real trade, restructuring, it does require legislative action because the reality is another president could come in behind President Trump and do away with all of the actions he's taken. So again, the court is saying this requires real oversight. This requires a vision. And above all, it requires courage from Congress, where the court is saying the constitutional authority rests. But instead of stepping up, Republicans are sitting on their hands. They're silent as hell. They're cowards. They're paralyzed, too afraid to challenge the ghosts of our own party's past. And this is what I'm talking about. If you guys remember, Republicans once upon a time were all about free trade. Most of these guys in Washington, they don't agree with Donald Trump on this, guys. They don't agree with trying to reshore some jobs. They believe that nothing will ever come back to America, and we should be so reliant upon China that we're essentially tethered by the hip. That's what they believe. I mean, it makes no sense that 70% of rare earth minerals, we import from China. I've talked about this on this program. We need rare earth minerals for defense capabilities, to build rockets, to build missiles, for GPS systems, for electric vehicles. We need it for our energy needs, for infrastructure needs domestically. Rare earth minerals are important. And China has a global, in my personal opinion, based on the data that I have reviewed, they have a global lock on the refinement production process of rare minerals that we need and any other modern developed country needs. And so President Trump is trying to put pressure to damage China by saying we won't be so reliant. Remember, I said just like we have our strategic oil reserves, we need a strategic rare earth minerals reserve. We can do this in the United States. We can get buy-in by Congress similarly to what we did with the national highway system. Say, look, we're going to appropriate a couple $100 billion over the course of 10 years to at least bring 15 to 20% of rare earth refinement domestically into the United States, strengthen our partnerships with Canada, Australia, and different countries across the continent of Africa where they have a significant amount of rare earth minerals. That should be the focus. But Congress isn't doing that. They're not doing that. Because again, as I told you guys, most Republicans in Congress, all they care about is free trade. And right now, they're too focused on culture wars and sound bites and viral clips to deal with the machinery of government that actually impacts working Americans like you. Now, Congress, let me tell you something. You all were elected to legislate, not to tweet, not to just merely throw red meat to the base as if the base is stupid and aren't concerned about real issues and don't want tangible results. They do. You, Republicans in Congress, were elected to sit across the table from the executive branch and hash out real sustainable trade policy that puts American industry and American workers first. That's why the American people gave us Republicans the majority in the House and Senate. And so in my opinion, guys, the court just did something extraordinary. They cleared the fog. They reset the field and said, Congress, this is your lane. And what do Republicans do? They look away. They shrug. They kick the can. And frankly, it's pathetic as hell. You claim to be the party of economic nationalism, of American strength. But why are you so afraid to lead on trade? Why are you abandoning one of the most powerful tools we have to protect American competitiveness and American sovereignty? Tariffs cannot exist in a vacuum. They have to be a part of a long-term strategy. And that strategy begins with Congress actually doing its MFing job. And so to my Republican friends on the Hill, I simply say this. You've been handed an opportunity. The court just gave you permission, no, a mandate to take the wheel. Will you lead? Or will you once again surrender your constitutional authority because you're afraid to follow the new political rules, because you're still stuck in the Republican Party of yesteryear, which sold out American jobs and American workers to the highest bidder because a lot of your wealthy donors got rich as hell, and so did you. That's why most of you, frankly, don't give a damn. And the American people have had enough. So the President Trump, I know he's going to appeal this process. Mr. President, I simply say this. Congress has a job to do, sir. Force them to do the darn job. This is not your job to do alone. The American people didn't just elect you. They elected Republicans in the House. They elected Republicans in the Senate. They expect them to work with you to bring back American jobs. As I stated a moment ago, this is about protecting America. This is about protecting American jobs, American sovereignty, our national defense, our energy defense, and our infrastructure needs. And ladies and gentlemen, you can't do that when you're relying on a place like China. And by the way, we're getting better deals with everybody else. We got a better deal with Britain. That's more reciprocal for both. We're working on a good deal with India, which appears to be going in the right direction. Even China, about 2 weekends ago, came to the United States, and even they said, their trade negotiators, that the meeting was really great. We're moving in the right direction. So we're seeing things move the way it's supposed to do. But again, ladies and gentlemen, Donald Trump can't do this alone. It's not his job, according to the court. And if I were Donald Trump, I wouldn't be pissed off about it. I would go to Congress and say, do your job. I've been doing this all along by myself. Do what the American people voted for you all to do as they voted for me to do. And if you don't do it, I'm going to use my bullet pulpit as a president of the United States to put pressure on your asses. And if you don't, then we're going to make sure we can test you and get in a Republican who's going to help get the job done. I'm Shermichael Singleton. Thanks for watching. Drop your comments below and let me know what you think. I'll see you in the next one.